Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Joshua Moore, the programmer for the Jewish Film Institute, and it's my pleasure to welcome our very special guest, Dr. Miami himself, Dr. Michael Salzhauer. Welcome.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how special I am, but thank you.
Well, we've just spent 90 minutes watching your life story and have a lot of questions.
It's my starring role. It was the role I was born to play.
Exactly. So tell us, how did this get started for you? Whose idea was it to make this film?
Oh, it was Jean-Simon Chartier, the filmmaker, approached me after he did a short piece for Canadian television. He said, I'd like to make a documentary about you. I think your whole life and the contrast and everything is fascinating. So I said, how much is it going to cost me? He said, nothing. I said, knock yourself out. Go ahead. You know?
Right.
He followed me around for 2 or 3 years with a camera and a small crew, and was really super nice about it. And I just let him in, and I'm kind of an open book anyway. If you follow me on social media, there's not much that I don't show anyway. Right. And the vision of the movie is really a reflection of his vision. It's his idea, his message, which I think is kind of showing how, at the beginning of the film, there's that quote from the philosopher that says, all of life is basically a series of spectacles.
Right.
Which I think it was probably from the 60s or 50s, but it's spot on, because that's basically what we're all living through right now with social media.
Sure. So was there anything that was off limits for him to film, and what was your relationship like, once the cameras were rolling?
Nothing was off limits except maybe the bathroom. I mean,
right.
I don't do nudes. I do not do nude scenes. Other than that, there was no limits there. I mean, my patients are nude, but I'm not. That's the point.
Right. And what about with your family? Were they open to the idea of having these cameras in your personal life as well?
4 out of 5 kids were okay with it. The fifth kid was just made himself sparse. And my wife was fine with it. And I think after my first reaction after watching the documentary was that my wife and daughter are the stars,
Yeah.
And, my wife did a great job raising the kids,
I was going to ask you, now that you've seen the film, I'm guessing probably more than once, how do you feel the way you're portrayed? Do you feel it's honest and accurate? Or is there things that you would change? Or are there things
it's spot on. I mean, the things that ended up on the cutting room floor, I'm sure deserve to be there. They're probably me just pontificating, my own life philosophy, which nobody wants to hear. So I mean, if I were going to make a documentary, I'd probably, give a little more time to my deep thoughts, whatever they are. But other than that, I wouldn't change a thing.
And how long was the process? How long did the director follow you around for? How long?
I want to say 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I mean, my daughter in the film there, she's now married and expecting our first grandchild. So it's been a few years.
Wow. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
And did you learn anything about yourself after making this film when you saw yourself on screen that maybe surprised you?
I wanted to learn something about myself. I wanted to see myself on the big screen, but Corona decided otherwise. So I've only actually ever seen it on a small screen. So and I've seen myself on the small screen all the time, but we all have, with social media and everything else. So there wasn't anything necessarily different, other than my favorite part, I'll say it again, was my wife and my daughter's interviews, because it really shows like their thought process, which I mean, I kind of knew, but never actually verbalized it like that. So that was really enlightening for me. No, it's pretty honest and kind of who I think I am. I didn't really see any, warts and all. I didn't have any illusions.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's fascinating that you have almost this kind of double life. Your Dr. Miami persona, and then your religious
Dad,
and family dad and
dad.
everything else. So I'm just curious,
Kind of
how
like
are
it's kind of like that episode of Seinfeld, relationship George and friends George and work
right,
George.
right. So how are you viewed differently by, like the Orthodox community versus the secular community? Has that come up for you?
Not really, because of the type of Orthodox community I live in. I live in Miami, in Bay Harbor Islands, Bal Harbor, Surfside, which is a pretty nice sized Jewish community. A lot of kosher restaurants, 4 or 5 synagogues, shuls. And most of the people live down here. We're considered an out of town Orthodox community. In town being either Israel or Lakewood, New Jersey, or Borough Park, or Brooklyn. So any place outside of those 3 places is considered kind of out of town. And the let's put it this way, less judgy, if I can say that. Oh, you froze. Can you hear me?
So we were talking about this kind of double
Oh,
life
yes,
that you
yes,
have.
out of town. I was saying I live in an out of town community where the Orthodox community here is very, very open-minded, not judgmental. A lot of Baal Tshuvas down here. A lot of people who have a foot in the secular world and a foot in the Orthodox world. And it's also it's a beautiful place to live. I love living down here. Weather's great. There's a lot of kosher restaurants, a lot of shuls, a lot of community support, and all kinds of Jews from all over the world come down here for vacation. And so we get a very nice eclectic mix of northeastern Jews and South American Jews and people from Israel, and it's really nice to live here.
And so when people in your synagogue, find out that you're Dr. Miami, does that change the way that they view you or talk to you, or are they accepting, or what's that like?
I've lived in the same neighborhood for 22 years.
Uh-huh.
So they knew me as a resident. They knew me as when I first graduated medical school, when I was Dr. Nobody, so I mean, I don't think that they, it's like watching your child grow up, I guess, like a community watches a family grow up, and they kind of see the transition slowly, like watching paint dry. So I think the change is not as dramatic, as it is for somebody who watches the finished movie and goes, wow, how the heck did this happen? But if you live with me, you live in my community, you know me, how I grew my practice, that I'm the guy who, in the middle of the night on Shabbos, if your kid falls down, I'm the one sewing up the cuts on the face, and I'm the one, help, I do brisses in the neighborhood. I'm a moral too. So nice. I do babies, and I do adult converts and Jews that were born in Soviet Union or Cuba. I do their brisses. So, I mean, they know me from all angles, and they know my kids since they were born. So again, in my community, I'm just me,
Right.
Yeah.
So give us an update on your life now. Now that we're in this pandemic, what's changed for you? How's the career going? How's family life going?
Yeah. So I think it changed for everybody. This year was it seemed very long and very short at the same time. Like 2019 or 2020 seems so long ago. Like 2019 seems so long ago. 2020 seemed like forever. I felt like 6 years. But the update on the family is my daughter got married. She's expecting our first grandchild in May. I got to spend a lot of quality time. Thank you. I got to spend a lot of quality time with the kids this year, like we all did, because we were all together. And I think that's really nice. It forced me to, obviously take a break from work. We were closed for about 2.5, 3 months down here in Florida. But once we reopened, the demand for plastic surgery, not just in my practice, but across the country, is booming. I mean, it's like a perfect storm for plastic surgery in that patients, they're not going anywhere. They have lots of downtime to recover, and they haven't spent any money this year traveling. So they have the extra money. They have the ability to recuperate at home without having to make a quote unquote excuse, And even like lip injections and Botox. I mean, people wear their masks, so you can't even see the bruises on the lips or on the nasolabial folds. So, I mean, all my colleagues are saying the same thing. Since they opened, the demand is extremely high. for cosmetic surgery. So from the business standpoint, things are great. Obviously we all have to survive Corona. Everything else is irrelevant,
Right.
So I got my shots, and, when two of my kids came down with Corona, I moved out of the house. I moved into a hotel for about 2 weeks,
Wow.
so as not to, die.
How's everybody doing now?
Everybody's good. Thank God. My wife got her shots. I got my shots. My 2 older boys had Corona and they have antibodies. My 2 younger ones didn't get it. They walk around the house going, "We have T cells. We're naturally immune, man. We're like Superman." We're like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that business is booming. I was thinking about how, so many of us spend a lot of time on Zoom and these other platforms, and we get to see ourselves where we're not
Yes.
wearing, our best clothes, and our hair maybe hasn't been cut in a while. And,
yes. It's like working in front of a mirror all day,
Right.
Usually you just look in the mirror for a few seconds in the morning, but when you're on Zoom all day, it's like literally looking in a mirror all day. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you had a lot of your patients talking about that when they're coming in for consultations?
Yeah. I mean, it's a real thing. The Zoom boom in
Right.
plastic surgery, and again, also people just being quarantined put on weight, so they want liposuction, tummy tucks, and they have the downtime to recover. And like I said, a lot of people, they have the money saved up. They're planning vacations, cruises, whatever. Man, this is the year to do plastic surgery, I guess.
Right. And what do you want people to take away from your story? What can they learn from you that maybe they could apply to their own lives?
I don't know. I mean, it's like you see a bear in a tutu. It's interesting. You see a bear in a tutu on a bicycle. It's even more interesting. I don't know how you apply that to your own life. And I feel like I'm the bear in a tutu. My wife says that we're like Lucy, like I love Lucy. I'm Lucy and she's Ricky. I don't know. I'm not sure there's much it can take away other than to know that it is possible to have a foot in the very much in the secular world, and also have a religious family life. For me, between the two, my religious home life is far more important. It's like that is what's at the end of the day. That's what that's what that is our continuity. That is the most important thing. And then the work aspect and the social media and all the other stuff is like a hobby. It's like fun. Obviously I need to make a living for my family, but I don't have to do this. I do this because it's like, like a kid in a candy store. I just have one of those personalities that just likes to be out there. I'm a little bit of a megalomaniac. But the most important thing is the home life. So, I mean, I think if people can, because I know secular people are going to watch this movie, probably more than Orthodox people. In fact, I think this movie will not be played even one time in B'nai Brak, or Borough Park. It's going to be played in San Francisco. It's going to be played in places where they may not be familiar with Jewish Orthodox life, and it may be puzzling to them. And they may even have some stereotypes and preconceived notions about what it means to be an Orthodox Jew. And for sure, my social media antics skirt the line. I would not say that I'm a rabbi. I would not say that what I do is halakhically sanctioned. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of secular people that they don't realize the beauty of an Orthodox lifestyle or the wisdom of the commandments of the Torah, that they serve a really essential purpose in having a meaningful, happy life. And, people, a lot of secular people, they can't get past the literal interpretation of the Bible or the Torah. They can't get past the talking snakes and the floods and all the others. And the fire, all this. They don't bother to take the time sometimes to look into it a little bit deeper. And if they did, what they would find is there's it's a mental shortcut for living a really good life. It's a heuristic. It's a way to keep your life focused on the most important things. and all the little laws that, people, well, you mean I gotta pray 3 times a day to, who knows if there's a God? I gotta keep Shabbos. I gotta not eat mixed meat and milk and what? No, I'm a good person. I'm sure you are a good person, but all these other things keep you on a path that allows you to even be Dr. Miami and have a daughter like the one you see in the movie, or have a family life that I have in the movie. Without it, I probably end up, here's the Dr. Miami without Judaism, without Orthodox Judaism. He's been divorced 3 times. He's got 2 kids that hate him, and he ends up dead on some kind of coke heroin binge in an alley somewhere in Miami. That is the default mode of a successful secular plastic surgeon in Miami. And it's only the religious aspect of balance that allows me to have what I consider a happy, fulfilling life. I don't know if people are going to take that from the movie, but that's what I hope they would.
I think so. I mean, what really comes across is that you're able to have this just positive, sunny outlook on life that I think resonates towards other people that are around you, and that you could keep keep feeling that is a special thing.
Well, you know what? I was raised in a very Jewish household. My dad was from Israel. Okay, grew up my grandfather grew up was born in Galicia, in a village there. His father was murdered by Cossacks when he was 6, and then spent his childhood in Vienna. It's basically an orphan. And his brothers took care of him. He had a business going in Berlin in 1933, and when Hitler came into power, he proposed to the girl he loved, and they moved to Israel in 1930, Palestine, 1933. So I guess the point of that is, compared to getting killed by Cossacks on a wagon with your wife pregnant with their 6th child, or running away from Hitler, my dad grew up in the streets of Tel Aviv in the 30s and early 40s, in a war zone, basically. I think I have it pretty good. You know what I mean? It's just pretty hard for me to go, oh no, my Wi-Fi's out, or I have that perspective, and it was drilled into me as a kid to be very grateful. And I think that's kind of what draws me to Orthodox Judaism in general. It's a very gratitude focused. If you practice it in the way I think it's meant to be practiced, you're constantly saying thank you for every little thing. You make a blessing after you go to the bathroom. You make a blessing before you eat an apple. You make a blessing every month when the new moon comes out. I mean, there's all these ways to show gratitude, and I think that helps keep positive.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think people will be really pleasantly surprised when they see the film, those, like you said, if they don't really have much understanding of Orthodoxy, and maybe they've only seen kind of stereotypical images in film, and then they watch your story and they say, well, I've never seen an Orthodox Jew like that before.
I've never seen a bear in a tutu riding a tricycle. That's me.
And it's nice to open our worldviews, challenge our stereotypes, I should say.
Yeah. And one of the wonderful things about being a doctor that I tell my kids, none of which are interested in medicine right now, is that you get a front seat on life. I mean, you really do. There's no way. It doesn't matter, Orthodox, secular. You could be a doctor in Saudi Arabia or in Australia. You have to go through a certain amount of training in the emergency rooms and dealing with everybody that comes in. You really, it does lend itself to having an open mind, or to being, to understanding how our commonalities as human beings. And so we, at least most of my doctor friends, we're very, what's the word? I don't know. Open-minded, you could say, or understanding and empathetic. I don't know if it's those people are drawn towards medicine, or it's from the experience of dealing with sick people, or just dealing with the general public everywhere you are,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, can you tell people how they can watch the film other than in the festivals? What's the plans for getting the movie out there?
Yeah, so right now it's streaming on Discovery Plus, the streaming service of Discovery, all the reality shows and documentaries and stuff. So if you subscribe to Discovery Plus streaming, it's It's considered a Discovery Plus original documentary. They're the ones that are dealing with the distribution, at least in the United States and probably throughout the world when they're ready.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for showing the film at the festival. And if anyone wants to reach me for any reason, The Real Dr. Miami on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Miami. Best of luck with everything, and take care.
Afreila Purim. Happy Purim.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.